They didn't advertise the sale. The house at the end of Gallows Lane never has to. People show up the way moths arrive at heat, not invited, only predicted. Lena Kaye went because her editor wanted a lifestyle column about antique therapy and because the apartment she shared with Panic was all corners and no light. She told herself she'd buy a vase. She came home with a mirror. It leaned alone in the back parlor, taller than a door, framed black as split coal, carved with knotwork so dense it looked like the wood had learned to think. The glass had that old-timey ripple, the kind that makes even the air look like it's reconsidering its choices. At the top center, worked into the frame, a small brass plaque. "Forgive the glass." "Good piece," said the man in charge. He was the kind of old that happens to houses. Came with the place. Came with the last place, if you can believe it. "How much?" Lena asked, because that is how you begin hauntings. "For you?" He shrugged. 50 in the promise you'll keep it covered at night. "Is that part of the warranty?" "It's part of being liked by your reflection," he said, smiling, and she laughed because humor is the first bandage. She paid, because 50 felt like superstition and she'd been short on those. They delivered it the next morning. It took 2 men and 1 apology to carry it up her stairs. She leaned it in the hallway across from her bedroom door, told herself it was temporary, and pulled the blanket off. The glass breathed. Only once. Like a person being polite about a surprise. She set rules the way anxious people set traps for fate. Don't stare. Don't look at night. Don't say your name out loud while standing in front of it. If you dream in the hallway, wake up somewhere else. The first day, it behaved. The glass gave back her messy ponytail, the bruise of little sleep, the silvering at her temple she'd been pretending was clever lighting. It also gave back the rest of the hallway, the scuffed runner, the leaning framed print of a lighthouse that didn't warn anyone of anything, the door to her bedroom stuck half an inch from closing no matter how often she begged it. At dusk, the light from the kitchen made her run way down the hall. Lena stood in the doorway and practiced breathing like an adult. "You're fine," she told the air. "It's furniture." The mirror blinked. No eyelids, no trick, just that micro-dim the world does when the power considers moving on. The hallway behind her reflection changed tone, just a hair darker than physics owed her. Reflection lag, she told herself. Antique glass. Old mess. Her phone buzzed. "Maya, you write your piece yet?" "Lena, I bought a mirror." "Maya, of course you did. Covers angels and demons. Send pic." Lena lifted the phone. The screen showed a blank wall. No mirror. No hallway. Just the lighthouse print floating in beige. "Maya, hello?" "Lena, glitch." She snapped another. "Say nothing." When she looked back up with her eyes, the mirror was there, patient as a dog pretending it never wanted to go out anyway. "Okay," Lena said to it. "We're not doing screens." That night, she dreamt she walked the hallway, barefoot, holding a blanket like a confession. The mirror was covered. No, the mirror covered itself. The blanket rose and settled, edges tucking under by the kind of hands you don't see. The plaque at the top read differently in the dream. Not forgive the glass but forget. She woke with the taste of that word in her mouth like metal. In the morning, there were finger trails in the dust on the frame. Too high for her. 4 of them. As if a hand had pressed up from inside the wood. She wrote 300 bright words for her editor about patina, and bought heavier tape for the blanket. Lena's neighbor across the hall, Mr. Penhaligon, had been a music teacher long enough that his posture apologized for other people's posture. He watered her plants when deadlines turned into minor famines and pronounced Debussy like a small prayer. He paused at her doorway that afternoon, gaze snagging on the frame. "Old glass," he said. "Makes rooms look like they're reading." "Does mine read kind?" Lena asked. "Your room is being borrowed in there," he replied, mild as tea. "By who?" He considered. "By an earlier you. Or a later one." "Great," Lena said. I've always wanted better company. That night, she brushed her teeth with the bathroom door half open, watching her own reflection in the hall mirror between swallows of mint. The glass gave back the line of her throat, the blue of her t-shirt, the soft bruised light under her eyes. It also gave back, just for a second, another door behind her bedroom door. Not a real one. A suggestion, cut into the shape of shadow where her bookshelf should be, a scene where no scene belonged. She shut off the bathroom light to see if darkness would simplify honest shapes. In the instant before her pupils caught up, the seam opened like a mouth that prefers privacy. Something behind it breathed in. She snapped the light back on. The scene became wall again. Her heart made a fist of itself and refused to unclench for a full minute. Rule number 5, she told the toothbrush. Don't simplify. She slept with the hallway light on. At 3:13 a.m., the bulb popped in a sound like advice ignored. The apartment turned itself over to the complicated night. Lena woke because her reflection cleared its throat. She sat up and saw herself standing in the hallway, same sleep shirt, same braids sliding loose, facing the mirror. The reflected Lena lifted a hand. Her palm settled on the glass. On Lena's side of the world, the mirror fogged where a warm hand would fog it. A fingertip wrote a word on the condensation. Stay. Lena's mouth went dry. She walked barefoot over the runner, stood in front of the glass, and watched the writing fade from both sides at once. Why, she whispered, because a question is a better lock than a rule. Her reflection's mouth moved. Because you're safer here. No sound, only shape. Then, because out there, you forget. Out where? The reflection leaned forward until forehead kissed the glass. Heat bled through. Lena could feel her own breath coming back wrong. Say your name, her other mouth said. So I know it's still yours. Every rule in her bones sat up. No. The other Lena's smile had too many kinds of kindness in it. Good. Then the light came back by itself, and the glass behaved, and Lena learned the size of the space between refusing and shaking. On the third day, the mirror offered a bargain the way sea offers a wave. Lena was under the sink wrestling a loyal leak into giving up when her father called. She let it go to voicemail, as usual. She loved him the long way, through errands and weather and eating the food he pretended not to like, but lately every call ended with the sound of a man trying to say something he didn't have permission to say to himself. She stood up, smacked her head on the counter, swore at physics, and checked the hallway. The mirror had shifted infinitesimally, closer to the bedroom door, a lean of an inch. The plaque caught light like a tooth. Forgive the glass. Forgive what? Lena asked it. Being wrong about me? The breath of condensation wrote a new word, trade. She rubbed it away with the heel of her hand, but on the inside the letters remained a second longer, as if the air in there had more ink. What? She asked before she could decide not to. The reflection lifted a hand and held up her watch. Old, inherited, an ugly square thing she wore because the weight of it kept her present. In the real hallway, Lena looked at her wrist. Bare. She hadn't taken it off. The other hallway's watch read 9:17. Hers read 9:11. Give me 6 minutes, the knot her mouthed. I'll give you a morning you won't waste. Lena stared at the watch in the glass, her chest stinging the way it does when something sharp in your memory snags breath on the way out. What do you take? She asked. For the minutes. The reflected Lena spread empty hands. Only what you don't use. That's what thieves say. That's what mirrors are, the other mouthed. Honest thieves. What do I get? A list of what to keep. A beat. And a call you'll answer on time. Her phone buzzed. Dad. Lena flinched. Okay, she told the world that had already heard her. Fine. Take my 6 minutes. Her reflection nodded like a conductor given permission to begin. The world gave a small and painless click, like a belt notch accepting a truce. Lena's watch read 9:17. In the glass, the other Lena tucked the square away, then slid a slip of paper across the inside of the frame as if there were a legend there. On Lena's side, a folded note fell to the runner. She stared at it, because laws are slow until they're not, then picked it up. In her own hand, but neater, as if written on a steadier day. Open the kitchen window. Let the steam out when you run the kettle. Don't send the angry email. Write it. Burn it. By Mr. Penhaligon Oranges. He won't ask, but he is tired. Answer Dad now. Ask about the blue box in his attic. When the light pops at 3:13, don't get up. Something like gratitude, something like accurate terror nodded in her sternum. She called her father. He picked up on the first ring and tried to sound like a man training his voice to be casual. Kitten, he said. What's in the blue box? She asked, and listened to how the silence gentled him while he found the shape of an answer. After, she leaned against the door jamb and stared into the mirror until her reflection looked gently incorrect again. What did you take? She asked. 6 minutes you used to practice being sorry, the other mouthed. You won't notice they're gone. I will, Lena said. That's the problem with me. Good, said the glass. She bought oranges. She didn't write the email. She boiled water with the window open and watched the steam choose honesty over her ceiling. That night at 3:13, the bulb popped. She did not get up. The sound came anyway, someone walking past the mirror in a house with her shape. Footfalls soft as agreement. By the end of the week, the scene was a door. Not fully. Not the kind you could photograph and win an argument with. But the wall's shadow thumbed the line where paint refused to be just paint. The baseboard had learned where to stop. The rug curled like a tongue at the threshold. Lena laid her palm flat against it and felt cool. Not cold like wall. Cool like somewhere else behind it cared less about summer. The mirror no longer showed exactly what was behind her. It showed a tidier version, the print straight on the wall, the runner unscruffed, the bedroom door finally closing that last half-inch as if boundaries were a technology her life had updated to. Her reflected self was better dressed. That was unforgivable. I don't want to be her, Lena told the glass. She looks like she knows what she'll do tomorrow. She does, the mirror mouthed. Because she remembers what you forget. What do I forget? The reflection reached into the space that wasn't her hallway and held up a blue box, the one from her father's attic. Lena swallowed. She'd fetched it that afternoon. It sat, unopened, on her kitchen table. In the glass it was open already. Inside, photographs. A wedding she never asked about. A woman in a dress who wasn't her mother. Her father younger than his bad days, smiling in a way his face had not practiced in years. Lena's hands shook. How do you have that? Look, the other mouthed. Open it. Or I can. Lena backed away. No more trades. Not a trade. A map. The reflection tapped the plaque with a knuckle. Forgive the glass. Why? She hated how the word widened her voice. What happens if I don't? Then I keep the room, the mirror said, and for the first time the breath on the glass wasn't hers. Something moved behind the scene door like a person choosing shoes. A handprint pressed from the other side, palm, then fingers, then 2 more inches of a wrist thinner than hers. It was too high to belong to the child her mind tried to supply to make fear easier. It was a hand like hers but not, too flexible at the joints, too patient. Mr. Penhaligon knocked softly. You all right, Miss Kaye? She opened the door too fast and smacked her shin on the runner. Fine, she lied. He peered down the hall at the mirror as if it were a student not practicing. Don't let it choose the hour, he said gently. Keep the lamps on your time. How? She asked, almost a laugh. The way we keep metronomes honest, he said, and lifted the bag he carried. By starting a better rhythm. He set a small mantel clock on her entry table, wound it with ceremonial care, and let it begin, solid, small, unafraid. Tick. Tick. The sound threaded the hallway like a neighbor you like either despite yourself or because. In the glass, the reflected clock lagged. 1, 2, delay. Lena's nod her frowned. That's rude. Get used to it, Lena said, surprising herself. We're setting house rules. Mine. She went to the kitchen, opened the blue box, and let the photographs take the room apart gently. When she came back, the seam had widened enough that the baseboard on the other side showed in profile, old wood, painted a white her landlord would never spring for. Behind it, a sliver of a room that was almost hers, the same lighthouse print with "See More Dangerous," the same rug without stains, a window she didn't own that looked out on a street she didn't live on. Her reflection stood in that not room and watched her with a compassion that stung. Say your name, the other mouthed again. Let me hear if it still fits. Lena Kaye, who had spent a year introducing herself as sorry, felt the old urge to comply. Instead she stepped closer until her breath fogged a small circle between their mouths. I'll say it, she whispered. When you say yours. The other's smile faltered. The plaque above both of them read, in both worlds, forgive the glass. Not yet, Lena said to it. Earn it. The light in the hallway dimmed, not blown, withdrawn. The apartment clock ticked on with a stubborn, moral beat. Behind the seam, something with her posture reached for the knob that wasn't there. Lena reached too. The door that didn't exist yesterday began to learn how. The night the clock stopped was not one of Lena's. At exactly 3:13, the hallway light pulsed and stayed dim, caught between choices. The seam had opened enough to let a draft through, cold, patient, like breath from a room that doesn't know you yet. In the mirror, her reflection stood very still. Behind it, the not room was no longer a sliver, it was an apartment, the same furniture rearranged for someone else's life. The air there had more symmetry, less dust, no apology. Lena whispered, what do you want? Her reflection's head tilted. Not what? When? The plaque above the frame flickered between readings, forgive. Forget. Forfeit. Her phone buzzed, a message from Maya. You up? Something's weird with your article photos, I can't open them. They're all blank. She didn't reply. She reached for the blanket she'd used to cover the glass and watched her reflection reach too, each of them holding the same corner. Lena pulled. The reflection didn't let go. The blanket tore. The mirror screamed, not a sound, but a pressure, like a room being vacuumed out of its own time. The reflection flickered through versions, older, younger, thinner, heavier, every Lena that ever stood in front of a reflective surface she'd tried to forgive. Then silence. The scene door was gone. And Lena's reflection wasn't there anymore. Only the room, the other room, visible now as if the mirror were just a window. The next morning, the apartment was too quiet. The mantel clock's tick came half a second late, as if it had been following someone else's rhythm all night. She walked to the mirror. Her reflection returned like an echo that had to find its way back. Say my name, Lena said. The reflection smiled wrong. Lou, nah. Wrong, Lena said. Lou, nah. It blinked hard, eyes twitching like static. Its mouth formed sounds that didn't align with the noise they made. Then it stopped trying and mouthed only, trade. The mirror's surface rippled once. The air in the hall bent inward, and when Lena exhaled, her breath fogged the glass, not outside it, but behind. Her reflection leaned close and whispered, you're running late. I've already started your day. Lena turned, the clock read 10:07. She had no memory of breakfast, or coffee, or anything before now. Her phone showed photos of her desk, her hands, her keyboard. Each taken within the last hour. She hadn't taken them. The captions, written automatically by her phone, all read, Lena Kaye at home, working, smiling. She hadn't smiled in weeks. She placed her hand on the glass. It was warm. Inside, her reflection placed its hand too, but the fingers didn't align. One was missing. She called her father again. This time, he answered on the first ring, but his voice sounded flat, like it came through layers of air that didn't belong to phones. Kitten, he said, you opened it. The box? No. The room. He coughed. Your mother used to stand in front of a mirror like that one. She said it offered her better memories. A version of herself that never made mistakes. But it doesn't give, it swaps. She died when I was 6, Lena said quietly. She stopped reflecting when you were 6, he corrected. It's not the same thing. Lena dropped the phone. The call continued, her father's voice muffled through the floorboards. Whatever it shows you now, it's not your future. It's your replacement. The reflection was watching. Behind it, the better apartment had begun to move. Curtains breathing. A kettle boiling. Someone, her double, setting down a mug. Lena stepped closer. Give it back, she said. It's already living. You can't be me. I'm the you that stayed still. You're the echo. You're the one who left. The scene door flickered open again, only a few inches this time, enough for sound to leak through, the clink of a cup on wood, the creak of her own chair. Her reflection spoke softly. If you come through, everything balances. And if I don't? Then I keep the mornings. Lena's phone vibrated again, a new message, from her father's number. It read only. Don't say your name near glass. It learns pronunciation. The message timestamp was from 2003. She spent the last day writing. Every word she remembered, she put down. Her name. Her address. Her father's favorite music. The smell of coffee on Mondays. The first dream she ever had. She pinned the pages around the mirror, like an exorcism of details. The reflection read each one as though auditing a soul. When she finished, the hallway clock struck midnight, once, twice, too many times. The scene door flared open. The other apartment stood ready. Her reflection, clean, calm, perfect, reached through, fingers brushing the edge of the frame. Say it, it mouthed. Say who you are, and I'll stop. Lena took the final page, the one that said simply, I am not yours. She pressed it against the glass. The mirror shuddered. Every bulb in the apartment blew out. The hallway filled with the sound of paper burning, though none of it caught fire. Her reflection screamed, not in fear, but in recognition. The glass spiderwebbed from center to edge, each crack a line through her other self's face. Forgive the glass, Lena whispered. The mirror whispered back, already did. And then it went black. When the lights came back, the hallway was empty. The mirror still stood, but the glass was flat now, no ripples, no depth, only her own reflection looking back, steady and plain. The plaque at the top had changed one last time. Remember the room. 3 months later, an art dealer bought the mirror from the estate sale at Gallows Lane. The listing said, antique full-length mirror, circa 19th century. Frame restored. Surface shows faint signs of heat damage. He hung it in his studio. When he took photos for the catalog, he noticed something strange. Every picture came out fine, except the ones where his own reflection should have been. In those, a woman stood in the background, expression calm, one hand raised in a small, polite wave. Her name tag on the wall behind her read, L.K.